Hi guys, how's everybody doing? I haven't made a video like this for a long time, but I feel very strongly this evening that right now it's up to every single Filipino, every single person who loves the Philippines, every single foreigner who is married to a Filipino to promote the country. You know, the Philippines relies heavily on tourism. It relies on people visiting the country, people buying products that are made in the Philippines, promoting Philippine businesses, promoting Philippine restaurants, promoting the culture, promoting the Philippine way of life, promoting Philippine music, Philippine television, and everything in the country. This is not the responsibility of the few, but this is the responsibility of all of us. I think it's vitally important that at this time we should be speaking highly of the country. How can we expect the Philippines to keep on rising? How can we expect tourism to keep on going in the right direction? Right now, the Philippines is affected by the global pandemic, and this has meant a slowing down of tourism, a slowing down of domestic tourism in the Philippines. And I believe it's the fundamental duty of every single Filipino citizen to speak highly of their country, to speak highly of the wonderful 7,107 islands, to speak about the beautiful beaches, the incredible warm and lovely people. And this is something that I feel very strongly about. You know, I just find it rather sad that there are some people who will say, oh, there's corruption in the Philippines, there's all these bad things happening. Of course, the Philippines needs to continue to move in the right direction. And of course, this isn't going to happen overnight. But while people paint the picture, paint the Philippines in a bad light, while people are not promoting the country, while people say, oh, don't go to the Philippines because there's all these troubles or whatever, or there's poverty or so on, or it's dirty or whatsoever. You know, the Philippines can never grow. The Philippines can never improve. It is the responsibility, I believe, of every single foreigner married to a Filipino to promote, love, embrace and cherish the Philippines. And this is something that I felt very strongly about for a long time. It is the sworn duty of all of us to defend the flag of the Philippines. Whenever we see an incident where a Filipino has any racist attack on them, or they get treated badly, or they don't get treated in a favorable manner, or people make fun of the Philippines, or people make fun of the Filipino people, it's the sworn duty of all of us to do something about that. Yes, of course, Filipinos are perfectly able to stand up for themselves and speak about things that have happened to them. But I also believe that it's the responsibility of all of us, not just a few. I believe we should all stand up for the flag of the Philippines. You know, the flag of the Philippines to me is very important, and it's a flag that I treasure and I have close to my heart, you know. And I'm just making this video because I just feel that, you know, we should really be instilling that Filipino pride. For those foreigners or Filipinos mixed relationships, where people maybe have only visited the Philippines for a couple of times in their life or a few times in their life, you know, we should be visiting the country. We should be introducing the Philippines to our children. We should be bringing them to visit the country as much as possible. We should be telling them how wonderful the Philippines is. It disappoints me to hear there are many Pinoys back home in America where maybe the children haven't visited the Philippines very often at all. You know, the Philippines is home. You may be living in foreign lands, you may be working overseas, but don't ever forget your home. I know it's expensive and I know it's not easy to visit the Philippines all the time. But remember, the Filipino people, the Philippines is your home. It's where you should treasure, you should never, or cherish. You should never just work abroad and say, I don't want to go back to the Philippines because of this reason or that reason, because there's corruption or whatever, or I'm settled here. You should be proud to visit your country. You should be proud to step foot on Philippine soil, because I tell you this, stepping foot on Philippine soil is the greatest moment that I ever have in the whole of my life. When I'm able to visit the Philippines, when I'm able just to step a foot on Philippine soil, I feel like I'm in paradise. I feel like I've reached home. I feel like I'm de-stressed. I feel so incredibly excited and happy and jubilant and so amazed when I can be back in the place that I love, the people that I love and the culture I love. And I sometimes find it hard, and I sometimes struggle to understand why there may be some people out there who maybe don't share the same feeling as me. There may be some foreigners as well who are maybe critical of the Philippines, maybe calling Manila dirty, or maybe saying there's too much poverty or whatsoever. Of course, we can't get away from the fact that there are still issues. We can't get away from the fact that there are people who are living in poverty. I accept that. I understand that. But the fact is, it is up for every single one of us to do something about that. It's up to every single one of us to speak good of our country, to speak good of our people, to speak good of the nation. And until we do that, things are not going to change. Until we embrace the Philippines, until we embrace the country and the people, and, I don't know, what we need to do. But the fact is, we need to reinstall Philippine pride. Philippine pride is not just some kind of joke or some kind of game or some people saying, oh, get real or whatever, Philippine pride is something that we should all be proud of. Whenever I see a Filipino on television, be it somebody who's maybe speaking or singing or whatsoever, I get incredibly proud. I get excited when I hear about Filipinos doing well or achieving well. This makes me so happy. I get goosebumps each time I hear the Philippine national anthem. When I hear the name of the Philippines mentioned on television, or whenever I watch a YouTube video speaking about a Filipino, I get this wave of excitement that comes over me. This is the way that I hope that we can all be. This is the way that we all need to be. We all need to be proud of our country. And for those foreigners who are married to Filipinos or maybe have Filipino families, you must be proud of your country. You must really embrace the Philippines like your own. You may be of a foreign nationality, but I believe the Philippines should be equal in your heart, equal in your soul, and equal in your spirit. And the flag of the Philippines should be as important, if not more important, than your own. Because this is a country you've fallen in love with. This is a country it's really, really important. I've been a little bit how am I going to put this? I've been a little bit disappointed today to hear or to see some people talk badly about their own country. And this is something that's really, really upset me. Because I believe we should be proud. As I said, when we step foot in the Philippines, that should be the greatest moment of of our lives. If you are an OFW and maybe you've been abroad for many years, maybe you haven't been back home to the Philippines for very long, you should go back. You should embrace the motherland. You should, even if you don't have family there, that's no excuse whatsoever. You really need to step foot on your own soil. You really need to embrace the country, the culture, the 7,107 wonderful islands. Re-engage with your country, re-engage with your culture. Because right now the Philippines needs you. It's the duty of every Filipino citizen, I strongly believe this, to support the country. It's the duty of every Philippine citizen to visit the Philippines, to engage in tourism, to stay in a hotel, to pay for a taxi driver to take you to your province, because it's the duty of all of us to support the country, to support businesses in the Philippines. And I just get a little bit sad when I hear there are some Pinoys who say we haven't been home in 10 years, we've got no family there, we've got no reason to go back there. Yes, you have, because that's your motherland. Yes, you have, because that is your country. Be proud of your country, be proud of your flag, be proud to walk on the soil of your forefathers. This is the message that I have today. We must embrace the Philippines. We must promote the Philippines. We must defend the flag. And we mustn't be afraid to die for our country. The Philippines is the greatest country on earth. And this is something that we need to promote. This is something we need to tell our children. It must be the responsibility of all parents who have Filipino children that they engage with the country, they visit the country, learn to speak the language, watch programs, watch YouTube. It frustrates me a little bit that there are some grown-up Filipinos who don't even know about their country, don't even know about the different dialects, the different regions, the different languages of the Philippines. It's essential. It's essential to know about your forefathers. It's essential to know about your country, your culture. You should be proud. The Philippines is one of the greatest nations on earth. We heard in the news the other day that there was a Filipino engineer from Baguio, from St. Louis University, who actually helped to design the landing craft that landed on Mars. How incredible is that? A Filipino engineer is part of a team that has got a craft landing on Mars. Be proud of your country. This is the message that I have. Never forget where you're from. Be proud. Stand up tall. Don't get embarrassed about the Philippines. Don't get embarrassed about what's happening in the country. Stand up tall. Be proud. The fact is, and I keep on harking on about this, one of my greatest dreams in life, and I know it's never achievable, is to be Filipino. But I can tell you this, if I was Filipino, I would be talking about the Philippines, and I do this every day anyway. I would be talking about the Philippines at every single opportunity. I would be walking around wearing a Philippine flag draped on my body. If I could tattoo myself with a flag of the Philippines, I would. And I know that's against the heraldic code of the Philippines. But even so, people don't understand that, we should promote our country. We should try and encourage tourism. We should get more people to visit the Philippines. If you are a foreigner and you are married to a Filipino, I believe it's the sworn duty to inform all of your colleagues about the Philippines, and I'm sure many of you do this. You know, it's almost like you're a Christian. You need to evangelize and tell everyone in your work about the church or about God. This is the same thing. You need to tell your colleagues to visit the Philippines. You need to explain to them about the different islands, about how they would get to the country, about the people, about the lifestyle. This is your responsibility. This is your duty. Our duty as foreigners is to embrace the country, embrace the culture, and to constantly talk about the greatest country on earth. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry I got a little bit on my soapbox today, but this is something that I feel very strongly about. Best wishes. Salamat.